Hey everybody, welcome back again to Ken Tamplin Vocal Academy, where the proof is in the singing. And today is actually a really exciting topic for me because, well, every topic I guess is exciting. But before we get into it, it's going to sing how to sing the best notes of your life, right? And we're going to get into this in just a minute, but I want to do a shout out to Furry Murray, dude. There you are, man. Good to see your mug. Olivia Wenya, how you doing, man? We got people from all over the world. Literally, people tune in from India, people tune in from Australia, New Zealand, people tune in from China, Indonesia, Sulawesi Islands. I mean, there could be Europe, it could be Canada, it could be America. It's just literally all over. So it's awesome that we have this platform to be able to dig right into some pretty crazy stuff. Now, the other thing I want to mention is there's some early shout outs. I want to thank my notification squad. You guys seriously rock. You're always there. And so at some point, I've got to do something special for you guys. I don't know what it is, but I have been thinking about it. So just know that is coming. It may be just like a little private Q&A or tutorial or something, but I'm going to do something special for you guys. For you out there that want to continue getting cool Ken Tamplin Vocal Academy videos, you've got a ding! Ring that bell and subscribe, ring the bell, I should say, so that I can get more videos coming your way. So you'll be notified as to when these streams come out. So there's a couple more things too. I'm going to be doing a Q&A because I got a couple people a little bummed. They sent me some Facebook messages saying I didn't answer their questions. I promise, guys, I'm going to do another one. I don't know when, but it is coming up soon. So let me just kind of get the total schedule together. We do have a lot of these pre-scheduled back-to-back. So I'll have to insert that in one of the schedules that we have, and we'll kind of, arrange the schedule accordingly. But I want to show you how to sing the best notes of your life. But I want to say hi to a few people here. So I'm going to put on my old spectacles and make a spectacle of myself and say, hey, Robbie, how you doing, buddy? Simply the best. Good morning. Got Pablo Mendoza. Hola. Maria Halmisari from Finland. How you doing? Just practiced 1 hour of the law. Rock and roll, dude. That's awesome. David Press, rock star. We got Thankapan Kesavan. Hi. Zeg Studios. Hey, is there a zig in your Zeg? I'm just curious. Felipe Bouchard. Hey, Felipe, you're a long-time student, right? We've got Kamikaze87 from Victoria, Canada. Jeffrey Woods. Aye. Oh, that reminds me of a bad joke. What do you call what is it? A octogenarian sailor? Yeah, an octogenarian sailor. What does he say when he becomes an octogenarian? He says, "I'm 80." Terrible. Sorry. Hello from Chile. Stefan Sings. Anchor from India. Vocality from Scotland. Jeffrey Woods changed his profile. Rebel Rockers in there. Marjorie McNamara. We've got Sivan Schwelm from the Netherlands, from Bulgaria. Leo Sayer, the dancer. Do you want me to do Leo Sayer? That's a hard song to do. Maybe I will do that. That's a tough tune. I heard that on the radio just about 3 days ago. It's kind of interesting. We've got, oh man, just people from all over the Philippines, New Jersey. Wow, that's way out there. I'm just kidding. Anyway, Ron Lamb from Phoenix. Man, you're practically a neighbor. We've got Nikolai Rao from Germany. We've got Maryland, Kazakhstan, Alamat from Kazakhstan, Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, Georgia, all the Baltics are out there. You're representing those guys, which is where Dimash is from, as you know. Let's see here. We've got Brazil, Turkey, Tunisia, Indonesia, Newfoundland, Zimbabwe, Nova Scotia. Awesome. Hey, I want to get started because I have a lot of really cool stuff I want to cover. So if you guys are ready to go the distance with me, I am ready to rock. As you know, today's subject is how to sing the best notes of your life. And that's a pretty doggone huge subject. We seem to take on some of the biggest subjects here at KTVA, and they're not always as a straight line heading straight for, oh, you do this, you do this, you do this, you do this, and out comes the best notes of your life. We have to determine a few things. So as we get started, I think the first question that we need to ask is, what do we mean by the best notes of our life? And so I'm going to literally open this up. Now, I haven't done this before. Usually I say, okay, save your questions for the end, blah, blah, blah. So I'm going to need my associate Bob and Matt, who's actually running the program for me right now. I've got two guys helping me out. We're going to take some questions, and I want to know, while I'm talking about this right now, I want you to type in what you think would mean the best notes of your life. Now, some people may think it's to sing the high note to impress people. And, we see on all the, the singing shows, there is that, that high note that proves to everybody that I'm just awesome. Or they want to sing like their favorite singer or artist. So there's another, that's how, what it means to them to sing the best notes of their life. Others may just think it's the most passionate note that they can sing. And there's certainly that. While still others may think it's growl and scream and distortion or overdrive, right? If I could just do that, man, those would be the best notes of my life, or the gnarliest notes of my life, blood-curdling screams. Maybe most of us think it's just to sing with freedom and expression without any inhibitions in the throat or period. Just get out there and sing whatever you want, particularly in the way of effortless singing, okay? And I think it could be all of these things, guys. I don't think it's one or the other. Maybe for your individual taste, it might be one or the other. But I want to point out some very important things. Now, I know I've talked about this before, but I want to bring it up again in a different light. I'm not sure how many of you guys out there saw the most recent performance of Demi Lovato singing Anyone at the Grammys. So I'd like to get a show of hands. You guys could type in the message bar there if you actually saw that performance. And with a pretty short time. So she's singing at the Grammys, which is really hard to do to begin with. And she's super vulnerable. She doesn't have a bunch of dancers and a killer band or pre-recorded tracks. Here she's out there all by herself, solo, with a piano player. No background vocals, nothing. And she's singing in front of the most elite group of her peers. How terrifying would that be? How difficult. Man, you make one mistake and there it's curtains, right? All right. So, and I want to say this because this was a week before or after, I forget which came first. I think it was after, of her singing the national anthem again, solo at the Super Bowl. This is within like a 1 or 2 week span. Taking on the two most visible, high-profile events in all of musicdom, so to speak, and she pulls off both of them. Unbelievable, right? So, to be honest, I'm going to be candid with you. I was never a Demi Lovato fan. I just didn't know her stuff that well, and what can I say? I just wasn't a Demi Lovato fan. I just didn't know her. It wasn't that I didn't like her. I just didn't know her stuff that well. I heard a few things, like, it's all right, cool, But to be candid and honest, I became one. I became a Demi Lovato fan. Rock and roll Ken Tamplin became a Demi Lovato fan after seeing her performance of Anyone at the Grammys. Now, when I went back to listen to the album version of that song, I was surprised and impressed that her live solo pared down Grammy performance, in my opinion, of that song far exceeded the album. Straight up. It was more raw. It was more honest. It was more vulnerable. It was more desperate. I could just go on. And then the way she sang it and her notes and her intonation and just everything that was involved, she killed it. That is extremely rare. And I'm bringing this up for a reason, so hang in there with me, guys. Very few artists can do that, man. Or outdo, let's say, very few artists can outdo their album performances. And today, most artists are, just singing to tracks or something. So there's no way they could get beyond that. There's no way they can get vulnerable. There's no way they can be transparent. There's no way they can be emotional. It's all pre-recorded crap, right? So I bring that up because Whitney Houston was one of those artists, right? Johnny Cash, I've talked about this before, and his song Hurt that he did was just riveting. I mean, emotionally riveting. Now, for me, I had the benefit of growing up in the 70s. And in fact, I saw so many concerts. My older brother used to take me to all these concerts. In fact, he took me to Cal Jam 1 and 2. And at Cal Jam 2, my parents were really upset with him because, and they put me on restriction from seeing any more concerts with my older brother because he was supposed to come back late that night. And unfortunately, we partied so much. I don't do that anymore. Stopped when I was 14. But back then, it was the 70s. Everybody did. We partied so much that he didn't want my parents to see the condition that both of us were in. So we spent the night at a friend's house. We came back the next day. They got bummed, put me on restriction. Couldn't see a concert for a whole 6 months after that. But anyway, I bring it up because I got to see a lot of bands in the 70s. And most of those bands in the 70s far exceeded their album performances. Because in the album, they're restricted. They got 4 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever. And you didn't get to see this giant sum of all of these licks and chops and improvisations that they just went on for days on that were just incredible performances. Singers singing different stuff, bands changing it up, doing different things. You know, audiences enjoying it. They were there. The bands themselves, were having a great time. It wasn't even so much that their audience was having a great time. Because the bands were having such a great time musically, their audience was having an awesome time, and that's how this is done, folks. So I bring that up because that's a benefit that I have the luxury of having firsthand knowledge of the greatest notes of their life. Maybe not singing per se, but musicianship-wise, you know, right? This is true to some extent for 80s rock too, but not quite so much as in the 70s, but this spilled over to the 80s. Now, I'm not saying there aren't exceptions to this rule, okay? But what I am saying is that somewhere along the way, we lost this passion, and we lost this greatness, and we lost true artistry. Now, I said there's some exceptions, so I'm not, stereotyping everything, but we lost some of the consummate musicianship. And it's harder to find genuine, passionate, heartfelt, life-changing music. And the reason I bring up Demi Lovato is because especially in the pop world, it's all about image, it's all about production, everything's auto-tuned, it's all about, whatever they're trying to sell you. And that big tech and major media is trying to push on you, that is what you end up getting in the end, right? So I want to revisit the topic of how to sing the best notes of your life, but what does it mean, and what are the best notes? So guys, did we get any, is anybody out there, can you put up in my, the comment sections for me to see if anybody put up what it means to have the best notes? Let's see, okay, so let's start here. Let's go here. I want to hit high notes like Paul McCartney. Okay. I trade my ability to play from playing sax to sing. That's interesting. Ken, how do I hit high notes like Paul? Same guy, Paul McCartney. Let's see. Trent Reznor. Yes, I knew that song. I knew that Trent Reznor wrote the song for Johnny Cash. Yes, I know that. Let's see. Hi, Ken. All singers. So far, I've gotten that you guys want to sing like another singer. So that's your best notes of all time. Around 95 when Pro Tools came. Yeah, that's right, Jeff. That's about when it really started going downhill. Let's see. I would think that the best notes of your life would be to sing any song that you'd like to correctly and without control and form. Correct control and form. Well, I don't know if that would be the best thing. No offense. Because a great athlete doing the best performance athletically of their life is because they have great control and form that gives them the ease to do that. So hang in there on that one, simply the best. Why? Because technology, yes. So I'm asking you guys though what the best notes are. Do you have a hatred for autotune? Yes, I do have a hatred for autotune. Bring soul music back. Jello, high notes, yes, but with tone I like. Okay, tone would be Ahmed's. On pitch would be Jeff's. Best notes come from full control. Let's see. I'm practicing belting drive every day to elicit emotional response. Okay, now stop. Elicit emotional response. I want to stop there. Okay? I want you guys to hold your thoughts for a minute. And I want to say, okay, so I had to ask myself the question, what are the best notes of my life? Right? Now, think about this, guys. I have over 40 records out, 40. Now, usually you have about 10 or more songs per album. Now that's 40 commercially released songs. So it's not just 40 records, 40 records. That's 400 songs. 400 songs. And I don't mean covering a bunch of other people's music. Most of that is music that I've written all by myself and have had commercially released. I'm not talking about all the songs I've done for film and TV, and I'm not talking about the 600 YouTube videos that we have out. I'm just talking about commercially released music. So out of 400 songs that I have out, I asked myself that question. And I want to play you a clip of this right now. I queued it up. So I want you guys to check something out. Now check this out. Listen to this here. Oops. You know what, by the way, I realized that my volume wasn't up on this, darn it. So I hope you guys got plenty of volume up until now. I just turned it up all the way. It looks like it's up, but it's for sure up now. So if that wasn't working. All right, before I play this little clip, I want to give you some backdrop on it. I had just gotten a big fight with my record label who was trying to steal all of our money again. I just had a manager that stole a bunch of money from a tour that we had done. I was in the middle of recording an album I have out called An Axe to Grind, which featured a lot of amazing artists. Mark St. John from Kiss, had the bass player from the band Boston, Lanny Cordola, Chuck Wright from, you guys probably know him from Quiet Riot, like all kinds of Vanilla Fudge, all kinds of great bands. In fact, he's out there with Quiet Riot right now. He played bass. Ken Mary, Alice Cooper's drummer. I mean, just a phenomenal cast of performers and players. Scott Van Zen, you know. And so I had this album that I was working on, and I was driving from my home in Long Beach all the way out to a place called Pasadena. It was quite a drive, and in traffic, it usually took about an hour and a half to get there. So I had a late night the night before, and I was kind of bummed because I just got all this news, you know, what had happened. So I knocked off at about 11 o'clock at night, and I went home, and I couldn't sleep. I was so frustrated. And so I just got up at around 3:30 in the morning. I drank a cup of coffee. That was back when I used to drink coffee. I don't do that anymore. And I didn't even eat any food. I got back in my car. I wanted to beat traffic because it would have been a long drive otherwise. And everything was still set up. All the mic was set up, everything was set up. And I was working on a blues song with Scott Van Zen, a great guitar player friend of mine. And I didn't have any lyrics. I didn't have any melody. I did have the instrumental track that I'd played in my head over a few times. And this is what came out. Not a single lyric, not a single melody, nothing about it that I'd pre-recorded, pre-rehearsed, nothing. But the mic was still set up from the night before. I walked in and I sang this. Now, I want to make some points about this. I wasn't warmed up. None of it rhymes. It was really throaty and not very technical, though there was quite a bit of soul in it. I was brokenhearted. I was frustrated. I was, I can't imagine anyone that worked harder than I did for their career. And here I was sitting there again, feeling like, you got to be kidding me, right? I mean, wow. And yet that invoked, in my own personal opinion, the greatest, let's call it, I don't want to call it an epitaph, the greatest legacy that I feel that I've left so far with my singing. Now, for me, it has a very heavy spiritual connotation. I wanted to speak my heart of what I believe spiritually. I believe in God. I believe there's everyone is going to be judged for their actions. I believe I'll be judged for my action in the hereafter. This life may not go as well as I thought it should, but it doesn't really matter because I believe that I'm gonna live beyond this life, and so what I do here in this life matters. And so so it's called Going Home. It's a song about going to heaven. Well, in the same kind of context, that's exactly what Demi Lovato did. So I truly believe that those notes were some of the best notes of her life. I wound up going back listening through her catalog, and it wasn't that they were fancy. It wasn't that she was, sang the highest notes of her life, and it wasn't even that the song had that was that hard to sing. Except the end does have a cool climax to it, and those notes are fairly high. But the end notes themselves were kind of the icing on the cake. She had you at hello. She had you the first few notes. Boom, she had you. And it was her extraordinary story of her life, leaving herself so vulnerable, so raw, so honest, so passionate, so hopeless. And I want to talk about that because it was so deeply emotional. She didn't give a crap about what anybody thought or anything. She was going to sing and share the best song of her life, notes of her life. Now think about this for a second, guys. She was showing her hopelessness. Here she is at the Grammys, for crying out loud. Wouldn't you think, I've arrived? Wow, I've made it, right? And she's talking about, is there anyone out there listening to me? I pray every day that I don't feel like I'm getting any answers. Is there anybody out there? I'm not, is this all there is? So folks, if we think that just singing like our favorite artist or with freedom of expression, and we're going to get to that, and we're going to have a singing tutorial at the end of this. So this isn't just going to be some big rah-rah pep talk, guys, but I'm pointing this out that here she is, she's won Grammy, she's sang at the national anthem at the Super Bowl, one of the biggest live music events of all time in world history, and she's breaking down singing this song, Anyone, and to her, that's the song she chose. Is it because she also believes that those may be the greatest singing moments of her life, singing at the best of her life? So I say that because I personally think that while I think those were some of the best notes of her life, and she pulled it off in front of her peers, she was able to express that emotion, and again, wearing her heart out on her sleeve, in front of her biggest critics. That is impressive. Now, some of you might be saying, okay, come on, when are we going to get on with, how do I get to my notes and this, that? We're going to get there, I promise. Hang in there. But are you going to be able to show some of the mechanics, kind of what it takes to get there? There is that. So whoever wrote, there were two comments that came in. One, I want to be able to do this without thinking about the mechanics. Well, that's true. On the one hand, Demi is a very mechanical singer. She's got, like Whitney, she's got all the mechanics down to be able to give her the ability to express herself in a way that is uninhibited. That is cool. So I say that because do we just want to be worshipped? Like, think about this, guys. Like, is our reason and our focus for singing because we want everybody, look at me, that's why we're doing this? Or everyone, just instead of having everyone just tell us how great we are, and therefore that means that, those are the greatest notes of our life because we're worshipped, because everyone says, oh, that's cool. Well, that dog don't hunt, as they say in the South. In other words, it's not going to get you very far. And if that's the case, it's extremely shallow. How ironic that was a big song. Shallow, right? Star is Born. And will never have any staying power. What we really want is we want our audience to feel, to know, and to do specific things, okay? What do I want my audience to feel? Do you want them to walk away from your singing feeling inspired, motivated, energized, understood, relieved? Maybe it was a song that gave them a release, emotional release, or curious, or some other emotion. What do you want your audience to know? What's the big message that you're trying to convey? Is it a lesson? Is it a story? Everyone needs a story, a main story in the song. And what do you want your audience to do? Okay? This is important because what's the action item I want to take once they step out of the venue? When they leave this place after I'm done, do they take a piece of me with them? Did they just say, oh, wow, that was cool. Wow, that was a high note. Oh, wow, that was, it's saying sound just like so-and-so, right? Or do they want to take a piece of you and your story and your life and your expression? Well, can I suggest to you that that's really what's really going to motivate and move people and have them remember you and want to come back to your shows? The notes are great. Absolutely. We're going to get into that in a minute. But you want them to be moved by your music, by your songs. You want them to come back and see you again. So answering these questions first can mean the difference between singing shmeh and singing the best notes of your life. I promise. Just like me here in my song Going Home, just like Demi Lovato, I truly believe Johnny Cash hurt, even though he didn't even write that song. Probably the best notes of his life. Same thing with some Whitney Houston stuff we talked about. I could go on and on and on about a lot of singers. Now, I don't want to get too clinical or analytical about this because I don't want to rob the heart and the soul out of everything I'm saying. We do want to get some mechanics in this, but I want us to see something. In my experience, persuasion is more about the heart than the mind. Okay, let me say this again. Persuasion, persuading somebody for something, is more about their heart than their mind. It's interesting because you'll find people that will hold dear to maybe even something that they thought was a truth or something that's true. They'll hold passionately to it, even if you show them to their face, no, let me show you why this is not true, because they convince themselves in their heart they would actually overrule their mind over a fact that they can see in front of their face, that they will overrule that because it's so deeply rooted or seated in their heart. That's pretty powerful stuff. So if you want to sway someone to your side, you need to convince them emotionally as well as logically. Now there is logical, and I want to talk about that too. So what does emotionally mean? And what does logically mean? Okay? Now, there's an old metaphor. This is an oldie, guys, but hang in there with this one too, because it's a goodie. It's a metaphor of what's called the elephant and the rider. Okay? Elephant and the rider, like riding the elephant. Okay? Each of our audience members has an emotional elephant side and a rider side. Okay? Now, what does that mean? Well, this is what it means. The elephant is the guy or girl standing there with their arms crossed. Logically, you've got to move them from this thinking part of them into an emotional willingness to be open, to appreciate, to enjoy, to attach, to celebrate, to enter in, to be engaged. Okay? So if we can't get the logical to convince the heart to move into this engagement, we've lost. I don't care what high notes you sing. I don't care how many runs you do. I don't care how distorted you sing. I don't care how you sound like your favorite artist. If you can't get that person engaged emotionally, you've lost. Okay? Now, it's kind of funny that they have this analogy because I remember as a kid, I've done this a few times, I've had the chance to ride a few elephants in my day, believe it or not. It's kind of interesting. And I grew up, when I was younger, I actually went to a couple horse schools. So I know how to command a horse pretty well. Elephants, not so much. An elephant is not going to budge or move, period, unless you speak the language of the elephant. Think about that, okay? Now, what does that mean? It means that the elephant does have a language. Someone along the way has taught that elephant how to understand a certain language, and you've got to tap in to the language of the elephant hearing, right? So we've got the rational side of the elephant, and that place of moving that elephant to action, to doing something. That is precisely what we need to do with people. And by the way, the scary part of this is usually that event happens within the first few words out of your mouth, or the first, maybe the first phrase, or up to the verse chorus. Usually they've kind of decided whether they like you or not that fast. Okay, so the first few words or first few seconds out of our mouth are extremely important. So we've got to get them to convince that elephant to move and to act. Now, I want to say that you can convince the most calloused, hardened people to action. I know it sounds crazy, but there is something down in their soul that they have a life experience somewhere that will move them. And it's your job to get to it. It's your job to find out what that is. And you say, Ken, how in the world am I going to do this? It's really complicated. It's really not, actually. And here's why. Because if they can relate to you and to your story, or to whatever it is you're singing about, in such a way that you're emotionally singing, performing well, you're passionately singing well, you don't necessarily even have to hit all the notes. There's all kinds of singers out there that don't hit all the notes great, that are able to move people to action. It's that, are you believable? Can they trust you with their heart? Can they trust you with this? So that's pretty gnarly. So anyway, I want to get back to the title again, How to Sing the Best Notes of Your Life. As you know, I came from mostly a rock background. However, I love anything that's good. Truly, I do. And I remember someone invited me to a Jack Johnson concert. I'm like, oh, not Jack Johnson. It was a surfer friend of mine. And it was a girl, actually. And so I said, oh, man. She goes, please, I don't have anybody to go with. I got these 2 tickets. They were very expensive tickets. And I just have never been a Jack Johnson fan. For those of you that don't know him, he's kind of like a light Jason Mraz, or he's a very light kind of singer, surfer turned singer basically, and singer-songwriter, not even like a singer. And he's a musician. He plays guitar, but he's not like a musician's musician either. And so his band is not like a great band per se from where I come from, what I think of as a great band. Nonetheless, I went with this girl, and it was funny because it was at an amphitheater, and everybody was mesmerized. Everybody. He had the audience eating out of the palm of his hand. He was sitting on a stool, wasn't jumping up and down. He doesn't sing loud. He doesn't sing high. He doesn't sing hard. He doesn't sing heavy. Very mellow. But people were just chill with listening to the life of Jack Johnson. That's basically what it was. And him telling stories or singing stories that they related to as, let's call it, the surf, group of people, right? And you remember, the song Margaritaville, and, we all kind of laugh about that song. That was a song that related to the boaties. So all the boaties want to go, hear that song. Well, in the same way, this is true for Jack Johnson. It's true for other artists. But what I was most impressed with my arms crossed, that old joke, how many singers does it take to screw in a light bulb? I know I've said it before. It says, only one, because the whole world revolves around them. How many guitar players does it take to screw in a light bulb? Just 1 in 99 to stand there with their arms crossed to say they could do it better. Well, that was kind of me, unfortunately, at this concert initially. And then all of a sudden, he won me over. I was like singing Jack Johnson songs. I'm like, Ken, come on, snap out of it. You can do this. But I wound up really appreciating his artistry and liking him. So even the most hardened, let's say rock guys or whatever, with a predisposition of not liking him, going into it not liking him, not wanting to go, he won me over, okay? So he was singing some of the best notes of his life, and he engaged me, all right? Now, while his music isn't something that I didn't relate to, and I didn't even necessarily relate to some of his stories, there were a few stories that he did sing that I did relate to. And I don't have time to go into all this right now. But if you're digging and you're looking and you're searching, you will find the nuggets that touch people that you never imagined. Straight up, you will. You will find nuggets that touch people you never imagined. I remember one time playing at a prison. I used to play at these prisons on holidays because prisoners don't have family that come and see them. So I'd go and I'd play, my band would go play at these prisons. And some of the most hardened criminal guys, and they were happy to get out of the slammer to go out and see a show. They could care less if they liked you or not. It was just a matter that they got out because they were freed to go see something, recreational. And you would not believe some of the most hardened criminals, what they were moved to tears that you would never imagine. These tatted guys from head to toe and gnarly looking dudes, what moved them. So remember that. Now, like I said, did he sing loud, Jack Johnson, and powerfully? No. Did he have a bunch of pageantry musicians and flashy stuff going on, flash boxes? No. But he was compelling and persuasive. He sang the best notes of his life because he made it personal. He made it vulnerable. We have to give something of ourselves away. It can't just be all about us. It's not about just being worshipped. It's about giving something of yourself away. Come from a place of love for your audience. Oh, Ken, that sounds like 70s, peace, love, whatever. Well, in a way, it kind of is. It's universal. Music is a universal language. You've got to come from a genuine love and appreciation for the people that are there. Not, I can't wait for them to see me play this song. You want to enter in to their emotion. Enter into why they're there. They want to be made happy. They might have a tough week. They're there to have a good time. You've got to enter into what it is, what's going to take to make and have them have a good time. That's entertainment, right? That's mastery of your art. So when you allow yourself to feel the humanity of your audience, you'll have succeeded in taking the focus off of yourself. But Ken, what if I fail? What if I don't accomplish that? Well, you know what? I can't tell you how many shows that I've played, and I have played a lot of them. I've toured for almost 30 years, guys. It's a long time. And I know there was times where it was terrifying because the audience was dead silent. Stare down dead silence until it scares the hell out of you. Stare down the audience straight in the eye until it scares the hell out of you. Straight up, because I've been told after some of those performances that for people that were in the audience, that they felt that that was some of my best performances. I don't know why they weren't rah-rah. I don't know why they weren't screaming, shouting, clapping. But I've been told that some of those shows where practically nobody clapped, maybe there was just a weird mood that day. I don't know what it was. But they said that they were moved deeply and the performance was wow. So don't let that be the only indicator on whether or not, as the grading scale on whether or not you performed well or not. But Ken, what if I fail? Well, it's inevitable, guys. At some point, you're going to suck. You may even suck right now. I suck. All the time I suck. Believe it or not, there's some things. Now, what you think of suck and what I think of suck might be two different things. But what I've done is I've trained my voice in such a way that my 80%, and I don't mean to be arrogant when I say this, but from a mechanical, technical standpoint, my 80% is better than most people's 110%. So I've overtrained myself to a point where I'm really confident I can walk out and bust out anything whenever I want. And even if I didn't warm up or I fail for my standard of failure, I still didn't fail, okay? So I want to take a little detour on this term fail, and we are going to get to some singing. So you guys hang in there. We're on our way. I want to talk about people that failed forward. And I could do a million of these, but I just thought I would take a few of them and pull these out. And I don't necessarily like some of these guys. Some of these guys weren't necessarily good guys. But I want to make a couple of points here because I want to talk about the respect that I have for their stick-to-itiveness, okay? Now, Walt Disney was fired. I want you to think of this. He was fired from the Kansas City Star in 1919 because the editor said, now this is Walt Disney, think about this. The editor said he lacked imagination and had no good ideas. Walt Disney lacked imagination and had no good ideas and was fired from the Kansas City Star in 1919. Look this stuff up. I'm not making it up, guys. Straight up. J.K. Rowling, Harry Potter series, right? She got fired when she was working at a London office of Amnesty International and was told her writing amounted to nothing. She actually lost her job and went on welfare and was on welfare with her kids when she wrote the Harry Potter series. Straight up. Crazy, right? Ken, what if I fail? We fail forward, guys. We fail forward. Michael Bloomberg, the guy that just ran for president, who just had an epic fail and lost, who quit, right? He quit that, but he didn't give up, right? And I didn't necessarily say I'm a big fan of these guys. I know there's like Madonna stories and all kinds of stuff where she worked at a yogurt place in Times Square and she didn't even last a day before she was fired, okay? But anyway, Bloomberg was let go when he was working as a partner for Salomon Brothers, which is a big investment firm, a bank actually. And specifically, it was after the company was bought out by Citicorp in 1998. Citicorp, one of the largest banks in the world, and he was told he didn't understand investments. If I'm not mistaken, I think he's number 18 of the richest men in the world as an investor. But he was told by Citibank that he didn't understand investments, so they fired him. That is awesome. I don't know why that's awesome for me. I think it's pretty funny. Oprah Winfrey, and I'm going to do a few of these. I'm almost done. Was an evening news reporter and apparently got fired because she couldn't sever her emotions from her stories. So she was fired from Baltimore's WJZ-TV, and they told her she would never make it in television. That is awesome. Jerry Seinfeld, folks. You guys know Jerry Seinfeld, the older crowd out there might. He was fired after a poor performance on his very minor role on the sitcom Benson. Benson was an old TV show, wasn't even that popular. He was an extra, basically, a minor role. He was fired, and apparently no one even told him that he'd been fired. He only found out about it when he showed up for reading a part the next day and discovered that his part was cut from the script. and they told him to leave, that he had no place in sitcoms or comedy. I'm sorry, guys. I have to find the humor in this because we fail forward. Will we fail? Yes. Did these guys fail? Yes. Go watch Denzel Washington's. In fact, there's a thing called, I think it's called The Greatest Speeches Ever Told, and there's a series of guys on there. And Denzel Washington does, I think, the graduating Harvard class of 2020. And listen to his story. It's just incredible. Unbelievable. There's several stories on there that are just incredible about, the greatest speeches out there, right? Thomas Edison. Teachers told him he was too stupid to learn anything. Thomas Edison. Too stupid to learn anything. After that, things stayed bleak for a really long time for him. And Edison went on to get fired from his first 2 jobs, not being suitable or productive. Yet Edison went on to hold more than 1,000 patents. And apparently, supposedly, when he was trying to invent, it was not called the light bulb, it was called the light lamp, the electric lamp at the time. In trying to invent the electric lamp during a pandemic, by the way, I thought that was really interesting because I found out that what's the guy that discovered gravity? Newton. Sir Isaac Newton also was told that he would never amount to anything. Discovered calculus, came up with calculus during a pandemic. This was true, I guess, for Thomas Edison. But after the 1,002nd try, he invented the electric lamp. We call it today the light bulb. Can you imagine trying 1,002 times, failing 1,000 times at something, and then creating the light bulb? Wow, right? Steve Jobs. I'm going to end it with a couple of these. I had a lot of them, but I'm just going to go on. Steve Jobs, you know him, the maker of Apple, or the inventor of Apple computers, Macintosh. He was fired from his own company. Lady Gaga, when she was finally signed to a major label, Lady Gaga was dropped after only 3 months, told her that her music was not suitable for the label. Lady Gaga. Right? Albert Einstein couldn't even speak until he was 4. He didn't read until he was 7. He was subsequently expelled from schools, was not admitted to Polytech school because he was told he was stupid. Albert Einstein. Abraham Lincoln. I could go on and on and on with these guys. Lucille Ball, Marilyn Monroe, Vincent van Gogh. I could tell all their stories. Look this up, guys. Steven Spielberg. Ironically, Spielberg was rejected from USC, from School of Theater and Television. He was rejected 3 times, and was told he didn't have what it takes to be a director. I don't know why. Stephen King, I'm going to let the last one. You guys know Stephen King, the scare guy, right? He wrote the movie Carrie. That was his first thing. Wrote the book Carrie to turn into a movie. He threw it in the trash can because he was told it was a piece of garbage. His wife dug it out of the trash can, and then a couple years later resubmitted it, and that was the Kickstarter for his entire career. The thing that he was told sold over 350 million copies. Crazy stuff. Claude Monet, Michael Jordan, Colonel Sanders, Babe Ruth, Rudyard Kipling, Fred Astaire, Henry Ford. I mean, dude, Meryl Streep, Gisele Bündchen, Jim Carrey. The list goes on and on and on and on. Oprah Winfrey. I want to talk about Jim Carrey. This is a cool one. I said I was going to end on that one. I got to end on this one. Hold on. I got to get back to Jim Carrey. This is great. I dropped this. I'll end on this one, and then we're going to get on to some singing, folks. Jim Carrey. On his first comic stand-up at a club called Yuck Yucks in Toronto, Canada, he was booed off stage. Later, when he auditioned for Saturday Night Live for the 1980-81 season, he failed to even get on the show. Jim Carrey. In an interview with Oprah Winfrey, Carrey talks about how he wrote himself a check for $10 million, and on the check, in the memo section, he said he wrote it for acting services rendered. He placed the check in his wallet for 7 years until he received $10 million for his payment in the work in Dumb and Dumber. Well, that ain't dumb and that ain't dumber. That's tenacity and failing forward. What if I fail? Now, I could go on, but as we train, as we prepare, as we try over and over, we will find success. As Denzel Washington said in his video, I encourage you guys to watch it. Denzel Washington in 2020 class of something, I forget what it is. You'll get your chance. Every dog has his day. You'll get your chance. You'll find your chance for success. And remember, as I said in a few live streams ago, you are the story. You are the song. Sing with your own unique song the world to inspire, encourage, strengthen, and empower others to share their story. It's not just only your story, it's that you're going to inspire others so that they can release and relax and release and be comfortable enough to share their story. And in this, you'll find people playing your music over and over again, wanting to come back and see you over and over, just like Jack Johnson asking for a third encore. Jack had a third encore. I'm like, a third encore? That's pretty cool. And now, as I promised, I'm going to start off with some mechanics of singing, okay? Now, as we get to this, I don't know if you guys out there have any mirror, but I'd like to do a couple little warm-ups with you, some things that I do. And I want to encourage you with something that we're going to sing towards the end. So I'm going to grab my guitar, which is right here. We're going to do a quick little lip drill just to kind of get warmed up. So girls, you're going to do this up the octave. Guys, you're with me. And we're going to start out right here. So, okay, that's the scale. If you can't do it, you got to do this, even though I hate it when people do that because they should be able to relax and release. For our intents and purpose right now, I don't care how you do this. Just relax. Even if you have to hum, I want you to do the scale with me gently, and we're going to get into some mechanics, okay? With me. Now, for you out there, don't forget to take your breath. We've talked a lot about this, so hopefully I have some seasoned viewers here that remembered that if you don't understand, you've got to learn how to take that breath. If you don't know what that means, go back and watch my video on breath control. I have a singing course. It's called How to Sing Better Than Anyone Else. You guys can get my course or at least go in my singing forums for a lot of cool free tutorials and learn some of this stuff, what the first steps are. I'm just going straight to lip drills, and we're going to do a couple little exercises that I want you guys to work on. But you should first start with the breath to get good abdominal strength so this isn't mounting tension in the chest, in the neck, and in the throat. Okay, you should start to feel the sensation like your voice is waking up a little bit. You're going to start to get a little more brightness out of the sound, some of that in my case, morning voice, because it's only 9:50 in the morning where I am currently. Depends on where you are in the world, that's fine. But we're going to start on an A vowel. We're going to do exactly the same thing, but I'm going to explain some things about the A vowel as we go. We don't want to over sing. We want to keep the voice nice and bright with a nice bright ping and timbre in the sound. And we're going to do it very gently. We're going to come back down here again. Lay, like you're singing lay, like lay me down. Lay. Take your breath. Lay. 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 And I'm going to stick with the same triad to keep this real simple, because I'm going to explain some things that are a little more advanced in a second. Lay. Try to get the tongue to drop to the base of the jaw. Ah, eh. Lay. 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 Now for you baritones and even earlier lower tenors, you're going to feel the sensation of wanting to roll in to your head voice or falsetto. That's okay. We're just getting warmed up. We don't need to power through these or stretch these. We want to wake up the voice very gently. Ladies, this would have already happened to you a little bit already. You would have felt that sensation. It's okay to go into from chest through the passaggio into a mixed or head voice. Try to take the breath through the nose, because the nose warms the breath and adds moisture. You guys probably know, if you've ever had a really stuffy nose or a head cold, a stuffy head cold, when you wake up in the morning, your throat is really dry because you couldn't breathe through your nose through the night and you had to take in all the air through the mouth. Well, the same exact thing happens when we sing. So as often as we can, oftentimes we can't do it all the time, but as often as we can, try to take the breath in through the nose. Drop that tongue to the base of the jaw. I'm going to make this more pronounced in a second. We're going to talk about this next. Try to keep it nice and bright, make a nice bright ping. Try not to add too much air. Don't go, hey, right? All we're doing is we're just relaxing the throat, relaxing the voice, just trying to get the voice to wake up so we can have that freedom we talked about to sing the best notes of your life, okay? This is the mechanical side. This is the technical side. Forget that breath from the stomach. Sing from your belly. Lay, 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 lay. Okay. Now, I didn't warn anyone to do this, but I have a handheld mirror here, okay? And I'm gonna show you, and we're gonna close with this because I'm gonna do another good-sized thing, specific on the technical aspect, but I'm going to give you some tutorials before we leave on what to do after we're done today, because our hour's coming up, but I'm going to give you an extremely important one right now. Never done this before in this way, okay? We talked about dropping the throat. Now, what is the most, I'd say, obvious and thing that is the most stricture that people have is feeling like they're caught in the throat, like they get stuck in the throat. Well, why is that? Because their throat spasms or regurgitates and locks and closes down. We get caught in the throat because in the very back of the throat, it clamps down and we literally choke off or gag on our vowel sounds, okay? So we're going to do this exact same exercise, but before we do it, it's going to be on an ah vowel. You guys always heard me say it's the la ah, right? Ah, real bright ping in the back of the throat. I want you to get a handheld mirror out or your phone or whatever, and I want you to look at the back of your throat, and I want you to go ah, ah, and I want you to look at the soft palate and the uvula, that's the little dangly thing in the back of the throat. And I want you to practice trying to raise the soft palate in the back of the throat. This is very important because it's what creates open throat technique. It gives you the space in the throat. When you train this correctly, what happens is you get that freedom that you're looking for. Now, there's a lot more to it than this. It's not just this, but this is the beginning stages. Again, I cover all of this in my singing course, but we start here. Now, people are going to go, I'm frustrated. I tried it. I can't do it. Ah. So they fail backwards. Try it 1,001 times or 1,002 times until you created the light bulb, and then tell me you can't do it, okay? So that's the reason I went through all that, guys, is to really get this into your head. We fail forward. We move forward. We have failures, and then we have successes. Failures and successes. And then we have more and more successes as we go, and they build on each other until we get to the greatest notes of our life, okay? Now, as we go through the back in this ah, la, ah, we have what are called voluntary muscles and involuntary muscles, okay? Involuntary muscles is like your heart beating, okay? Your kidney working, whatever that is. You breathe involuntarily, just do it because you do it. At nighttime, it's automatic. You don't sit there and think about breathing while you're sleeping. It's an automatic response. Well, there are other things. If I pick up this mirror, okay, that's not involuntary, that's voluntary. I'm volunteering to pick this up, okay? So there's a voluntary action to my motor skills. Well, this here is voluntary, okay? Now, it's involuntary a lot of times when we swallow. What the larynx does, the larynx makes a judgment call of whether are we taking in air into the lung, and it shifts a little valve that goes back and forth, the epiglottis and the little valve, and it determines whether or not we're going to drink or eat some food. That goes into the trachea, or the esophagus, down into the stomach. It's a little thing that toggles back and forth. Okay, that's supposed to go in the stomach, that's supposed to go in the lung. That's supposed to go in the stomach, that's supposed to go in the lung, okay? This happens in your larynx, in your voice box right here, okay? So with that, the same is true since we can manipulate the larynx through a voluntary and involuntary response. It's also true that we do this with the soft palate. When we swallow, the soft palate goes up, goes down. Uvula goes up, it goes down. So it's both voluntary and involuntary. So because it's involuntary, it's a harder muscle structure to tell what to do, okay? So don't be discouraged by this. It's just the way it is. There's a lot of things that are like that. Some people can do certain things like cross their eyes and do weird stuff. It can be voluntary and involuntary, right? But at the same time, we can train this to do both. So we're going to look at the back of our throat. Ah, la. I'm going to do it with you. La. Ah. 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 Right? Now, the easiest way to start the training process is the sensation of yawning. Like, and you're going to go, oh, wow, Ken, I can do that. If I yawn, I see my uvula go up. I see my soft palate rise, okay? Now, the higher up we go in a note or in a scale or in a passage, in a song or whatever, the higher up that soft palate is going to rise, and the more tucked up that uvula becomes, creating more space. Now, more space is range. More space is resonance, bigness of sound, and more space is freedom in the throat. So we're going to go back and we're going to do these scales. I don't care if they're out of pitch or whatever. We're just getting started, but this is going to help you. You will see. I promise it will help you. Now, remember the breath. If you don't know what the breath is, watch my video on diaphragmatic support, get my course, whatever you got to do. But we take the breath first. We don't do anything without the breath. We're start on that ah vowel. Nothing. Think of yawning, that sensation of yawning. And you're going to notice that when you yawn, most people, when they yawn, they don't go, and their tongue come out like that, right? So the yawning is genius because a lot of people say the tongue is also involuntary and voluntary. I can't get my tongue to train to stay flat to my jaw. Forget it. It's just not working. Try it 1,002 times. Create the light bulb, okay? Try it 1,002 times. You can, and a yawning exercise does that, precisely does that. So watch. Nice bright ping. Some baritones, you're going to feel the tug of leaving prima passaggio, which is your speaking register, wanting to go into your call or belting, shouting register, let's call it. You're going to feel that tug. It's okay to roll into head voice this early, right now, just to get warmed up and get the sensation of keeping the throat open. This is true for you too, ladies. That might have, to you altos and contraltos, that might have happened already a couple notes. So anyway. Seesaw working? Yawn. Okay, now you can take these exercises and you can go to my video on mixed voice and see some of the exercises I have in there, and you can apply what we just now did to some of my tutorials I already have on YouTube to gently warm up the voice. And you guys can do this for 20, 30, 40 minutes. And after you're done, I want you to try and experiment. You can try singing some of your favorite song that you had trouble for before and see if there's any more loose feeling in the throat, right? Or can I suggest something to you that sounds a little crazy? Okay, it's gonna sound a little crazy, but I want you to consider something. Now that we're a little warmed up, I want you to think of a single line or a phrase. I don't care what it is. Now my song, remember, was called Going Home, right? Going home, right? So I want you to express a phrase that's close to you. Now, no one's listening, I don't think. I don't know if you're, friends and family around listening or whatever. But I want you, this is important. So I want to put this another way. If you could only express one sentence or one line to the world and sing it out loud, what would that line be? What would that sentence be? Okay? Having come close to death myself multiple times. If you haven't seen my testimony, I have a video called out how did I become Ken Tamplin? It might be worth watching. It may be something like this for me. It's good to be alive, or it's amazing to be alive, or life is good, or life is amazing, life is precious. Whatever that phrase is to you. You go, Ken, what's your point? Well, I'm trying to get you to combine the mechanical technical side with just a single passionate line. So, it's good to be alive, right? It's good to be alive. Life is amazing. Life is amazing, right? Now, if you don't have, Ken, I'm not good at making up melodies, or I'm not, whatever, and I don't know what line, life is precious. I'm not trying to just give you some positive confession as a motivational speaker. It might be something, life is hard. Life is tough right now. COVID-19, I'm not making any money. I'm at home. I can't go outside, whatever that is. But whatever this line is, I want you to do it with a view towards it inspiring other people, okay? And I want you to consider doing this line repetitively using this technique that I just gave you. So I want you to go down here. Life is good. Life is amazing. And think about it. Life is so good. Oh, life is amazing. Play with it a little bit. Life is good. Life is amazing. Don't know what, but I'm glad to be alive. Oh yeah, right? And I just want you to kind of vamp on it just a little bit. And after you do this, you're gonna go, you know, it's kind of weird, but I feel better. Really, I kid you not. You're gonna go, oh, Ken, come on, really? You really want me to do? No, I really do. I want you to pick something cool that you love, and I want you just to kind of sing it a little bit. And if you're too cool for this or whatever, okay, you're too cool for that. For me, mine was being distraught and talking about I'm gonna go to heaven someday, and I'm tired of all this shit in this life, you know, because in the words of Demi Lovato, anyone, is there anyone, please anyone, right? She's crying out, she's letting the whole world. How many people have felt the exact same way? All of us. I'll bet every single person listening to this video right now has felt the exact same way as Demi Lovato. Find that nugget that resonates with you and your audience, and I'll see you guys on Saturday. God bless you. Don't forget to ring that bell. Subscribe, ring that bell, and until next time, gang, I will see you Saturday morning at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, and I've got a cool surprise for you coming up for that session as well. And God bless all you. Hopefully this was helpful, and you will end up singing the best notes of your life and inspiring others to do the same. And until next time, peace out.